Today I'm going to be reading Chapter 18 of Ground Zero by Alan Gratz. This chapter is titled Son of a Donkey. Bassoon, Rashmina called. She didn't understand. 1 minute, Bassoon had been right in front of her. Then next, poof, he was gone. But how? The path they'd been following stretched slowly and steadily up the hill. You could see up to the next ridge, and all the way back down into the ravine below. There were no big rocks or trees for Bassoon to hide behind. "Bassoon, you son of a donkey," Rashmina cried. "Where did you go?" She spun, looking all around, but Bassoon hadn't completely disappeared. Rashmina started to panic. If she lost him, if he found the Taliban before she had been able to talk to him out of it. Rashmina started up the path. If Bassoon had somehow made it up the long hill while she wasn't looking, she would have seen him from the top of the ridge. She ran halfway up there, then stopped. No, there was no way Bassoon could have sprinted all the way in a few seconds. She hadn't been looking. It was too far. He has to be around here somewhere, Rashmina thought. But where? Rashmina came back down the path to where she'd planted the seed and opened her senses. She scanned the terrain in a minute detail, lingering over every rock, every bush. She listened for the slightest sounds on the wind, snapping twig, a scuffling footstep, an accidental rockfall. Nothing. But then, tink! Rashmina caught the smallest metallic sound, almost no louder than her heartbeat. She couldn't have even heard it if she hadn't been listening so hard. The sound had come from a steep wall of rock along the path. She moved closer to the wall, listening, watching. But there was nothing there. "There's nothing here," she thought. She put her hands to the rock face as though there was some kind of secret door Bassoon had walked through. But no. Rashmina sighed and looked down at her feet. Wait, were those the faint marks of shoes in the dirt? She crouched down low. It was only when she put her head almost all the way to the ground that she saw it beneath the rocky overhang. The entrance to a cave. Bassoon, you that sneaky rat. The Afghan mountains were full of hidden caves like this. Some caves were no bigger than the snow leopards who liked to sleep in them, but the others went deep into the mountains, carved out long by ancient waters and smoothed in the hiding places by decades of jihad fighters. Bassoon must have known the cave was there and waited until she wasn't looking to scramble inside. The entrance was just big enough for a grown person to squeeze through, and Rashmina wiggled inside. Beyond the entrance there was a room to sit up, and then stand, but it was pitch black and cold in the cave. She waited for her eyes to adjust, but it was too dark. There was only a sliver of light from the entrance to orient herself. "Bassoon," Rashmina whispered. The little toad had to be right here somewhere. He could be standing right next to her for all she knew. But the cave might also go deep within the mountain. She was going to have to go further inside to find out. Rashmina put her hands out in front of her, feeling her way through the darkness. Almost immediately, she ran into something about thigh level, and her heart caught in her throat. Wood scraped softly against the rock. There was a clink of glass. A small table, maybe, with something on it. She felt tentative in the dark. Yes, a table, and in the middle of it, a lantern. She could tell from its shape. And if there was a lantern here, there might be. She patted the tabletop until she found it, a small plastic lighter. Rashmina struck the flint of the lighter, and suddenly she could see her hands. She squinted in the glare. There was a glass lamp on the table, like the one of Rashmina's family had at home. And this lamp still had oil in it. Rashmina lit the wick, and a warm glow cast light on all around her. Something was stacked against the smooth walls of the cave, just beyond the edge of her light. And Rashmina stepped closer with the lantern to see what it was. Weapons. The cave was filled with them. Rifles, RPGs, boxes of bullets, unburied landmines. The metallic sound Rashmina had heard outside from must have been Bassoon tripping over a weapon in the dark. Rashmina brought the lantern down from a closer look. The weapons were made by different countries. She recognized some of the languages written on the weapons, and others she guessed at. English, Russian, French, German, Spanish, Korean, Chinese. No Pasu or Arabic, though. Bashitu or Arabic, though. Afghanistan didn't make the weapons. They just bought them and shot them. It was the big countries that made money selling weapons to little countries. Who had they killed with those weapons wasn't any of the big countries concerned. What would happen, Rashmina wondered, if the big countries stopped selling weapons to little countries? How would Afghanistan and Pakistan and Saudi Arabia and Iran and all the other countries around them fight each other and the rest of the world with bows and arrows, swords, rocks, fists? Maybe Rashmina thought they wouldn't fight at all. Maybe they would spend their time doing something else instead, like building factories and schools and hospitals. But that was never going to happen, and Rashmina knew it. She knew it, too, as a chill ran down her back, that she was looking at it right now was a Taliban weapon. Catch, a big one. Rashmina turned, and there was Bassoon standing right next to her. He'd appeared out of nowhere, like a ghost. Rashmina screamed, and Bassoon lunged for the lantern. Rashmina jumped, and the lantern clattered to the floor. Ksh! The glass lantern shattered, and in a whoop, spilled the oil ignited. No, the explosives, Rashmina cried. Help me put the fire out, Bassoon yelled. Together they kicked at the dirt, and Rashmina used her headscarf to beat out the last of the flames. She was still scared that one of the weapons might go off, and now it was pitch dark in the cave again. Get out, we have to get out, Bassoon told her. Bassoon scrambled out first and helped Rashmina through the hole. When she was back on her feet, she shoved her brother hard. You idiot, she cried. You could have killed us both in there. You're the one who dropped the lantern, he told her, because you popped like some evil spirit and scared me to death, Rashmina yelled. They were both shaking so much they had to sit down on the ground. When Rashmina could breathe again, she turned to her brother. How could you even know that this place was there? Bassoon yelled. Darwish Naman showed it to me. Rashmina blew out a laugh. Darwish Naman, of course. Bassoon got up angrily and stalked off the path. Bassoon, wait, Rashmina called. She got to her feet and followed him again. I'm sorry. Please stop this foolishness and come home. Moore and Baba need you. I need you. But Bassoon was done talking. Rashmina glared at her twin brother's back as he walked away. Why couldn't he see there was another path, another future? Why did he have to follow so doggedly in the footsteps of all the other boys who had left home for the Taliban before him? High up on the ridge, Rashmina spied a familiar rock with a phone number painted on it, the same one she and Bassoon had passed a couple years ago, the spot she had guessed he was going to all along. The rifle's not going to be there, she told Bassoon. It can't be. But it was. They passed the painted rock and came to the small plateau again, and there, right there, Bassoon had left it, was the same Soviet rifle he had used to shoot at the American base. Bassoon picked up the rifle and checked to see if it was still loaded. Apparently, it was. Bassoon, what are you doing? Rashmina asked. Click, click. Bassoon slid the bolt back in place, took aim over the side of the mountain. I'm going to call the Taliban, he said. That's all for today. Thank you for listening.